we congratulate ourselves that we got through the past 12 months. Yeah, you, Gordon Brown, with your bailouts and with your attacks on small countries like Iceland. Now he says the next 6 months will be even more decisive, because if we don't have a global warming treaty in place by 2010, it's essentially the end of the world. It's all over. And they trot out various island dependencies of the British Empire to say we don't want to go under the water. I don't think that the evidence on that is at all conclusive. So we also then had Obama's speech to the UN General Assembly. Obama is presiding over a meeting of the UN Security Council where he will preach the doctrine of nuclear disarmament. Now, this takes us right back to Carter. Carter was, of course, hysterically anti-nuclear, fanatically anti-nuclear. 3 Mile Island happening on his watch through the connivance of green fanatics helped a lot. But with Carter, you could see how the rhetoric of disarmament could be used as a powerful political weapon. That's what Obama is trying to do. That is also what Gordon Brown is joining in on. Gordon Brown says the United Kingdom has 4 Trident missile-firing submarines. We are prepared to go from 4 Trident missile-firing submarines to only 3. And, of course, the idea here is to put the strong arm on Iran, on North Korea, but also on all sorts of other countries. Interesting in Gordon Brown's speech is that he says the onus of proving that you're not producing nuclear weapons is now transferred to the developing countries themselves. In other words, the rich elitist Gordon Brown, the architect of the world derivatives bubble, presiding over the city of London and the heritage of imperialism over centuries, says, we are putting you in court. You have got to be guilty until proven innocent. And in fact, it's the Code Napoleon, guilty until proven innocent, by Gordon Brown vis-a-vis countries like Iran and others. And of course, there are lots of others that this can be used on. Gordon Brown says, we'll be happy to help you to get peaceful nuclear energy. Gordon Brown even cited Eisenhower and the Atoms for Peace program. He said, we will create a worldwide uranium bank, and you will be invited to use it. Now, of course, you just have to ask somebody in Iceland, for example, what? How can you trust the British? Certainly, if you ever got into a crisis, for example, if you owed the City of London some money, wouldn't they then find a way to ban you from exercising your drawing rights on the British Uranium Bank? It's just this idea, undermining sovereignty. The only way to push ahead is to have your own guaranteed energy, your own guaranteed production, not dependent on the will of other countries. That is an important component of sovereignty. So nuclear disarmament is one of the cards that Obama is playing. Now, for those who still don't get it, the idea that Obama has called off the Polish missile crisis is exactly what I talked about for the past 18 months. Under Obama, the U.S. takes a step backward from the brink of confrontation with all sorts of other countries. The U.S. is supposedly not going to be involved. Rather, and I went through this in some length, the idea is to play other countries one against the other. Get rid of the enemy states by playing one of them against the other. Example, Georgia. Now, in this case, the cloak is so threadbare that it's clear that the hand of the U.S. is behind it. But remember, Georgia, joined by Ukraine, by Poland, by Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, you get an echelon of petty states that can be played against Russia, at least according to the thinking of Brzezinski. That's the goal. So it's not surprising that they want to remove the direct U.S.-Russian confrontation, because the goal now is to use Russia as a cat's paw against Iran. Back in a minute.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio? Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. Now, the abyss gaped on the afternoon of Thursday, September 18th, when the Putnam Money Market Fund busted the buck. And that's where you have these reports about the $500 billion fleeing the dollar and the dollar facing a catastrophic collapse on the afternoon of September 18th. That's when we had a meeting of Pelosi, Paulson, and Helicopter Ben, joined by Harry Reid, Dodd, Barney Frank, Shelby, Boehner, and others, all attempting to get the TARP, the bailout going. Now, the result, the depression, you have this thing called the Baltic Dry Index, which is it's a measure of the demand for shipping. The Daily Mail of London, Thursday, September 24th, revealed the ghost fleet of the recession, or depression, I would say, anchored just east of Singapore. And they show you a picture of what looks like dozens, scores, hundreds of ships lying at anchor with no cargoes, no crews, no nothing, because maritime traffic, world trade, has collapsed. It's down 33% in dollar value, according to the WTO. The Daily Mail writes, the biggest and most secretive gathering of ships in maritime history lies at anchor east of Singapore. Never before photographed, it is bigger than the U.S. and British navies combined, but it has no crew, no cargo, and no destination. This is why your Christmas stocking may be rather empty this year. What this refers to, this is the key index, the most important overarching index of all the economic indicators you can get. It is these container ships tied together, anchored off the port of Singapore, southern Malaysia is the area. It's like those airliners parked in the desert there of Arizona, New Mexico. This is the area by the Straits of Malacca between Malaysia and Indonesia. A couple of years ago, those ships would have been steaming back and forth, but now 12% of the world's container ships are doing absolutely nothing. That is a world economic depression, and you're going to need New Deal measures to get out of it. The market won't help you. The market is just one of many ways to die. There's the Obama method, and there's the free market method. You can choose between the reactionaries of the free market and Obama of the fascist corporate state. So we're just hoping to get Phil Berg on the line from Philadelphia for our weekly update in terms of the legal actions against Obama. This is now a well-loved feature of the program. Let me just point in the meantime to the antics of Obama, of course, amounting to what has been often called appeasement. And, of course, it is appeasement. Obama is a coward. Obama is a weakling, but it's all by design. Because, again, the U.S. is not taking the point. The U.S., too bankrupt, too hated, too isolated, armies defeated and demoralized at the point of collapse, right? 120,000 in Iraq and supposedly now 40,000 more to reach 100,000 or so in Afghanistan. Where are those troops supposed to come from? Obama's in the process of breaking the U.S. Army in the same way that the French generals broke the French Army back in 1917. But Obama's an appeaser. You just have to remember what appeasement was. Appeasement was not a peace policy. Appeasement was the goal of Sir Neville Chamberlain, the Clifton set, Lady Astor, Lord Astor, and the rest of their fascist clique. Build up Hitler, send him east, play Hitler against Stalin, Nazi Germany against the Soviet Union, destroy both if possible, certainly weaken both, and the British Empire can go on for another 100 years. The Brzezinski plan is play Iran against Russia, Russia against Iran, Iran against China, China against Russia. Anything you can do in that regard is all gravy, and maybe the U.S.-British world domination can go on for another century. And in the process, note, and this is now a very interesting confirmation. I told you repeatedly there will be no attack on Iran. And we have the Brzezinski interview with the Daily Beast where he tells Gerald Posner if the Israelis attempt to strike at Iran, the U.S. Air Force should be given orders to challenge them, to deflect them, and if necessary, shoot them down in a U.S. Liberty in reverse incident. Now, this is a rather vehement form of what I was telling you the whole time. The U.S. and the British have bigger things to do with Iran than get themselves involved, bogged down in another quagmire, unwinnable, hopeless war. This is what Brzezinski said at the beginning of 2007. He said if these Cheney people are allowed to pull off another false flag operation, the U.S. will be at war alone with Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, and that is hopeless. And that was Brzezinski's project of 2007.